was able to bring my soul back. And I even have on my lifeline where my lifeline splits and then starts again, like overlaps. So it kind of like shows that I died and resurrected.
Wow. Speaking of timelines, timelines and time shifting, have you yourself had any experience where you either felt like you jumped to a different timeline or you shifted?
Well, yeah. I mean, especially getting out of the Mars thing in the most realistic way, I kind of took down a timeline and really that was a catastrophic timeline. And when I escaped the Mars recruitment, Dan Burrish had said something 2 weeks later that said that we are not on the, as a humanity, we're not on the negative timeline anymore. And it was so close to when I had gotten out of that mission. And I knew that if I could escape this mission, that it would affect humanity for the better. Because these are, heavy agendas, and to pull me off Earth, I mean, they knew what my creative energy is capable of, just on the feminine level, on a Sophia level, and they wanted me off the planet. And that's the whole concept of exiling Sophia. I mean, obviously it's the planetary body, obviously it's a force within all of us, obviously it's an ethereal being, but as me, being devoted as a vessel to her, they noticed this through their Akashic Records and looking glass technologies, and they wanted me off the planet. So I knew that if I could get out of this, that it would shift the timelines, and it did. Well, I believe it did, and somebody did note, Dan Burrish, who's one of the biggest Area 51 whistleblowers, who has all the behind-the-scenes information and probably has access to some of these technologies, did say that the timeline shifted. At other times, I've just, it's just like you transverse, space and time, and you just, you shift things, and it's just, when you're about to go down a certain track and you change the whole game, it's like you're basically shifting a timeline. And, certain things that we're about to say goodbye to, and we change our mind and we say, no, I'm going to stick with this. It's just, we're changing timelines all the time. But I would say getting out of the Mars recruitment was my biggest sort of timeline shift, because they were really determined to get me there, and it pissed a lot of beings off that I'm not going. And I don't know if they have an agenda in the works to still get me there, but that's why I'm talking to the people, because in a way it protects me. Because when I wasn't talking, I was in a lot more danger and I was a lot more attacked. Like now I feel like I'm more grounded. But when I was just handling this stuff by myself, my energy body was completely whacked. I had to go to the hospital twice because they were always targeting my heart. And they defected. One of the people that defected from that recruitment said that they aren't able to mind control me. And because they're not able to mind control me, the only target that they had was my heart. So they had to set me up with a partner that can manipulate me and draw me in. And that didn't work. So they couldn't heart control me either. So that's good. But it was really pretty hard to get out of.
Yeah. What are some of the things that, for those of us who are not really familiar with the whole MK Ultra and all those things, what are some of the things that you can do to avoid when you're attacked that way?
Well, first of all, what are some of the symptoms of being attacked? Because most people don't realize the fact that they are being manipulated.
Yeah, anybody who is fighting against being controlled knows that it's like, I would go ballistic. I mean, and what they told me, some of the readers said, you notice when something's trying to control you, where most people don't. They just go right along with it, so they don't have a reaction in their body. They don't go into rage or rebellion. Like with me, I go ballistic. Anything that tries to control me, I don't care if it's, an invisible force from some weapon. I don't care if it's from a person. I don't care if it's from an institution or a school or anything. I'm highly rebellious. I cannot stand any level of control on me. But some people don't notice at all, so they might not have symptoms. So I would say if you do have symptoms and you're angry and you feel something attacking you, then you're probably right. If you don't feel anything at all, the way to protect oneself, to get rid of mind control chips, one has to get an MRI. That particular device deactivates chips. Also, orgone and like rare earth magnets and stuff like that. I mean, you can find that information out on the web. I don't know how well it worked. With my partner, who I was basically going to marry because he was mind controlled, I, of course, ordered orgone and rare earth magnets, and I was like, okay, just lay still. Like, what are you doing with those magnets? Like, because he refused to think that he was being controlled, and I was trying to deactivate him. But yeah, I mean, just question everything. Like, if you're a Bush supporter, you're probably mind controlled and chipped. I mean, think about the people that you support and the things that you believe in. and sit back and just question it, and and listen to whistleblowers and see if what they're saying you have a reaction to. I mean, it's hard to get a mind control person to wake up to the fact that they're being controlled because their whole life is so immersed in it. But people just have to compare their information. Like, is it in agreement to what whistleblowers are saying? Are they supporting something that people are saying not to support? And just question everything. If you support Palin, you're probably mind controlled too, or just, I don't know. And I'm not trying to say this to be rude, but I mean, these people all have dissociative disorder. I mean, Bill Clinton, they all do. Most of the presidents have. I mean, they're all being used. And, I think Obama, there's something very hopeful about him. But people got to be really, careful. And they're not going to want to hear this. I mean, I think if they're having a bad reaction to the truth, similar to how Dracula doesn't like garlic, or, vampires don't like garlic. And, it's like, what is the aversion? If people are really offended and can't stand hearing me speak about this type of stuff, they might be mind controlled, because you usually have an adverse reaction to something that goes against the program that you're in. We have an adverse reaction to being controlled, but those who are being controlled are going to have an adverse reaction to those that are speaking truth. So if people are having a hard time listening to this, I would check yourself out. I've already checked myself out. I'm not mind controlled. I've gone through whatever I need to. I've been a guinea pig for psychics, for psychotherapists, for sound technologies. I've put myself out there to make sure that I'm not, all whacked out, and I'm not. I've passed with flying colors, and even the sound technologist, I've beyond passed with flying colors. He rarely he says that there's no numbers higher than my consciousness. I mean, sure, you can match it, but it's like, he says that nobody can really help me because you can't. Anyway, whatever he said, it was like, oh, wow. I mean, it sounded nice. Like, it's nice to be a highly aware person, but it's a double-edged sword, because, it's a hard burden to carry as well. But, it's necessary. We all want to be awake. Being awake is the most important thing we can be right now.
Yeah, definitely. It's getting people to that point to wake up.
Yeah, and once we're awake, it's like it's like there's no hierarchy. Once you're awake, you're awake. Once the drop falls into the ocean, then it's a unified field. It's not like, about, who's higher, who's lower, who's this or that. It's either you're asleep or you're awake. And once you're awake, you've joined the unified field. And once you're in the unified field, you're Christ, you're conscious, you have unity consciousness, and you're on your way. There's no such thing as all this other hierarchy crap or savior stuff. And as much as some people project onto me like, oh, you're a savior, and this and that, it's just like, no. We're all here to save ourselves. The only thing we can do is remind each other and assist in each other's awakening by just being able to look to the person's spirit and talk to the spirit. Don't talk to the program. When you talk to somebody, instead of looking at their issues, their programming, everything that's wrong, find that spark in them and talk to that part of them. Help wake them up by just talking to the true part of them, not in the judgment of what they're not getting. Empower what they long to awaken, instead of creating some sort of fight or duality, because that's what we're trying to get out of. And people attack each other all the time, especially in the truth movement. I'm trying to put an end to that. It's like, no, that's not how it's going to work.
Yeah.
That's a really good point, talking to the spirit instead of the third dimensional crap.
Yeah, because people start getting judgmental, and it's just like, it's not going to help that person. It's just the best thing you can do is just, give them love and speak to the part of themselves that you wish to see them awaken to, and then you'll be really helping them, rather than trying to tell them they're wrong or they're screwed up, they don't get it. It's just like, we all have to just be a lot more patient and loving. I mean, these are serious agendas, and everybody's, pulling out of things that are multi-generational. I mean, this is embedded in our culture. It's very hard for a lot of people, so we have to have compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, well, this second hour went really quick, Ramon.
Yeah.
So,
usually the second hour does.
Yeah. So, give you an opportunity to put all your stuff out there again, your website and your upcoming conferences and stuff, if you would.
Yeah, my website's cosmicgaia2012.com. The conferences are listed there, but April 9th to 11th in Philadelphia is Free Your Mind Conference, and that's the one that's coming up. And then June, I definitely please people come to Hawaii. We're going to be swimming with the dolphins. Alfred Weber, Andrew Bishago, and I are going to be doing a 4-day conference. And yeah, just look at my website. All the information's there. And then I'm on Facebook, Laura Magdalene Eisenhower. and I have the Return of the Divine Feminine page, which just basically is just sharing wisdom that has really just helped me when I'm just like, "Argh," and and just really just bringing that energy out of exile, because it's within men and women, and that's the one part of ourselves that we're dumbing down. That's the consciousness that we really want to get in touch with, Sophia Gaia, and who's in union with Christ, of course. So check out that page too.
Great.
Cool. All right, so I guess we'll be wrapping things up, right, Tom?
Yes, sir. It's about that time. So I want to thank everybody for joining us for this interview, and thank you very much for joining us, Laura. It has been a enjoyable and enlightening conversation.
Yeah, we really, really highly appreciate it, you coming on. And one thing I have to say before we go off, I love it how there's certain guests, and this is including you, Laura, how I contact you, and quickly I got a response that, yep, I'd be happy to do it. And I'm always happy to hear when someone who says, oh, I'm just trying to get the message out, and they really are. I know some guests are really busy, but there's some, without making it into a negative, that is just, it's almost like trying to approach a movie star.
Right,
So
right.
I really appreciate, Laura, that you were able to get back to us so quickly and were able to do this show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really just love the opportunity to share, and that's really what it's all about for me. So I really appreciate it, and I had a really good time with both of you. So thanks.
Great.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, we'll sign off with condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance, and we will see you all in our next episode. Good night,
And
everybody.
remember, do your own research. Good night.
Yep, question it all.